Hello and welcome to this video. In this video I'll be explaining how the PostgreSQL main function works. So the way the function works is opposite to how the max function works. The main function basically is used to return the minimum value in a set of values. Let's take a look at the syntax for expressing or writing a main function. So inside the select statement, you add the function, which is main, and then in the parentheses is where you specify the column you are applying the function to, and then you indicate the database table. So let's take a look at some examples. So this is a very simple example here. We're basically applying the main function to a table called film, and inside that table we are applying it to a column called replacement cost. So we want to find out what the minimum replacement cost will be if a film is lost. So I'm just going to highlight that and click on this bolt here, lightning bolt. So it tells me here that the minimum amount is $9.99. So that's the minimum replacement cost. I've got another example here of using the main function in combination of a subquery. So we're using a subquery here. Subquery, basically the way the subquery works is that it uses the result of the inner query. Once the inner query has been executed, the outer query will now work on the result of that query. So we've got two select statements here. That's why it's a subquery. This is the first one, which is called the outer query. So we're selecting the film ID, the title, which is film ID title from the film table, where the replacement cost equals to. So basically what it's saying is that when in a subquery, the inner query is executed first. So what it will do this block of query first, it will do a select on the replacement cost, which is this column here. So we are applying the main function to this replacement cost from the film table. We're ordering it by the title. Once that result gets computed, then the output of that result is not displayed here. This outer query here will now use that result and then select the film ID and the title from the output. Okay, so if I run that now, you will see the output based on, you can see here it doesn't give you any minimum value. What it's giving you here is a film ID and the title. All right, and because this output here has already used the result from the inner query to perform the main function, and then it passed the result onto the outer query, which has now displayed this output. Again, I've got another simple query here. This query, the queries I'm using here is identical to the queries I used in illustrating the max function. So a lot of it is the same. All I'm changing is the name of the function. Again, here, this is a typical subquery where we use the result of the inner query and for the outer query. So here we have two select statements. The first one here is what is known as the outer query, and this one here is what's known as the inner query. So we do the way the subquery works. It does the inner query first. So it will select the amount, all right, and then apply the main function to the amount. So once it's applied the main function to the amount, we're referring to this. There's a table here called payment. Sorry, we're working with this table here called payment. If I expand the columns of the table, there is a column here called amount. So we are applying the main function to the amount from this payment table. Once that has been done, it doesn't output the result here. It passes the result onto the outer query, which then uses it to select all the columns from the payment. So when I output this query, it will show all these columns from this payment table. So let me highlight it, and then you can see that. Give it a few minutes. So you can see here all the columns of the table called payment is represented here or in this output. Okay, because we've used the result from the inner query that did the main function and passed it on to the outer query, which then used this query here by selecting star from which returned all the columns and rows from the payment table. So that's how you use the main function in combination with a subquery. So here I've got a simple example here of how to use the main function in combination with a group by clause. So again, I'm selecting the customer ID from the payment table, which is this payment table here, and we've got the customer ID, and I'm applying the main function to this column called amount from the payment table, and then I'm grouping it by the customer ID. So the way this will work, the group by will split all the rows according to the customer ID and then apply the main function to that. So let me run this query and you can see what I mean. So there you go. So it has split this group by here, has split all the customer ID here. So this, if I expand this, you see this says customer ID. So split the customer ID into their own groups and then apply the main function to each of the group within the customer ID. So that's how you use the main function in combination with a group by. Next, I'm going to illustrate how you use the main function in combination with a group by and a having clause. So this is a query here that includes a main function being used in combination with a group by and a having clause. You can see the group by. So the group by here is by the customer ID. So this query again is identical to what I use in the max, illustrating the max function. I've just changed the name of the function. So what the having clause does basically is filter the group whose minimum value matches a certain condition. And the condition I've set here is that the minimum value must match this condition, which means less than 8.99. All right, so let me run this query and you can see the output. So it will return anything that is less than 8.99. There you go. All right, so that's basically how you use the main function in combination with a group by and a having clause. Many thanks for watching and bye for now.